Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My topic for this presentation is about Akrūra. His being recruited by Kamsa. We'll cover it briefly because it has relevance to the chapters assigned to me about Akrūra's visit to Vṛndāvana to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. In this account, you'll find pride, Kamsa's extraordinary arrogance, super pride. You'll find humility, as Akrūra deems himself unfit to approach Vṛndāvana and see Krishna. And you'll find anguish as experienced by the Brijavasis, especially the cowherd girls of Vṛndāvana. Unspeakable anguish, actually. We'll touch upon that anguish through the lens of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, that anguish is almost unspeakable. And the Acharya commentaries on the Bhagavatam point out that the subject of the devastation that hit the gopis of Vṛndāvana is so painful that Shukadeva Goswami skipped over some details about it. Pritchett Maharaj was in pain. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami says that this Leela of Krishna's departure for Mathura, hearing about it makes stones and trees shatter. But let's go to the recruitment part. And there you'll experience the greatest arrogance. Kamsa had been alerted by Narada Muni. And so Kamsa was in a state of maximum red alert. He wanted to plan how to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura to finish them off. To accomplish that plan, he wanted someone from the Yadu dynasty who had impeccable credentials, someone who was very respected. Somehow Kamsa trusted Akrūra. I know your profile. I have a task for you. I'm placing my interests in your hands, just like Indra places himself in the hands of Vishnu. Now bear in mind, when Kamsa said like that, he was actually condemning Vishnu. The emphasis is on Indra, not Vishnu. But he appealed to Akrūra in that way. I'm placing my interests, my needs in your hands. Don't think Kamsa was being humble. Kamsa was thinking, I can do it all myself, but it's good to have assistance. The Acharyas explained that. So, he presented to Akrūra a super chariot. Just luxurious, super opulent. Kamsa's thinking that these Vaishnavas, they're very simple. They're not so expert in the material energy. They're not so proficient in dealing with material energy. So when Akrūra hears that he has a chance to ride on this Mercedes chariot, that'll really sway him. He'll do what I want. These Vaishnavas are easily manipulated by material opulence. And Kamsa was also thinking that when Akrūra gets to Vṛndāvana with this Mercedes chariot, Krishna and Balaram, those young boys, will also be bewildered by looking at such a chariot, and they'll easily want to hop aboard and come to Mathura. So Kamsa thought he had it all figured out. He presented his plans, his strategies to Akrūra. When Krishna and Balaram get to Mathura, the elephant Kuvalayapid will finish them off. If by some slight chance they get past Kuvalayapid, the wrestlers, Chanura and Mushtika, will be their terminators for sure. And then, once Krishna and Balaram are killed, I'll terminate Vasudev? Certainly. Nanda Maharaj? Definitely. And also my own father, Ugrasen, and his brother, Devaka. They're always getting in the way of my plans. They're rivals to my rule. I'm not worried. I've got friends. Jarasandha is my father-in-law. And then comes rattles off a list of names of great demons, all destined to be killed by Krishna. But Kamsa's feeling safe and secure with his fallible soldiers. Once I execute all these plans, I can assure you it'll be very pleasant to rule the world without any obstruction. I always ask devotees to feel that streak in them of controlling and enjoying that the material world infects us with. It'll be very pleasant to get everything my way, to rule the whole world, to enjoy without obstruction and impediment. So what was Akrūra's response? He gave credit where credit's due. He said, your plan is very excellently conceived. I'll give that to you. But let me point out that the way this world works, the way destiny works, even the most excellent plan can fail. So I advise you, maintain your equilibrium. Don't get carried away. Go ahead with your plan. It's an excellent plan, but just be prepared that you could fail. But anyway, I will do what you ask. I will go fetch Krishna and Balaram on this super chariot, this limousine chariot. And I'm very happy that it's a brand new chariot, because I wouldn't want to bring Krishna and Balaram on a chariot that's already been ridden upon by such a demon as you, Kamsa. Of course, Akrūra didn't say that, but that's what he's thinking. That for Krishna and Balaram, they deserve the best, and I don't want them sitting on a seat that has been occupied previously by Kamsa. So, this was Ekadasi, and Akrūra left for Vṛndāvana the next morning, Dwadasi. It was an action-packed day in Vṛndāvana. In the morning, Akrūra has left Mathura to come to Vṛndāvana. In the morning, the Keshi demon storms into Vṛndāvana and is killed. In the afternoon, Vyomasura is killed. And in the evening is when Akrūra shows up in Vṛndāvana. Dwadasi evening. So, let's think about the humility. Now that we've heard about the arrogance of Kamsa, let's focus on the humility of Akrūra. He's thinking on his way to Vṛndāvana and teaching us the ideal way to approach Vṛndāvana. How does someone like me deserve such an opportunity to see Krishna? You wouldn't expect a materialistic person to be able to understand the science of the Supreme. Similarly, you wouldn't expect someone like me to be able to see Krishna. But it does happen that sometimes a piece of grass floating on the waves of the ocean is carried by the waves to the shore, and the grass blade is able to rest on the shore. Similarly, after countless births and deaths in material existence, somehow, sometimes, the conditioned soul gets such an opportunity as I am receiving. So Akrūra speaks verses of tattva, establishing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also clarifying his own position as undeserving. And he's also wondering, Krishna certainly should understand that even though I'm sent by Kamsa, my purposes are not aligned with Kamsa. I'm sure that the Lord will understand my heart. So you see his humility, and you see his confidence in Krishna, humble confidence. You see his awareness of Krishna's opulences, Krishna's glories. You see Akrūra is in dasya prema. He is in love of Krishna in servitorship. In his prayers, or his anticipatory thinking, as he prepares to enter Vṛndāvana, as he prepares to see Krishna and Balaram, we're so attracted to his process of anticipation. He's thinking of Krishna, what it's going to be like to meet and see Krishna. And he refers to how such an opportunity will be greater than what the greatest demigods get. He even remembers the gopis. Now, someone may question his glorification of Krishna in dasya prema shouldn't coincide with any mention of the Madhurya rasa. But the acharyas explain that Akrūra's mentioning of Madhurya rasa is subordinate or corollary. It's not the main point of Akrūra's thoughts, so therefore it's not a conflict in rasa. So I love the process that Akrūra outlines. He's thinking, what I'm going to do when I see Krishna. So he's really putting himself in that special zone, that special mode of thinking. He starts off with number one, when I see Krishna. He's expressing seeing Krishna as his first desire. And then we have a sequence of increased intensity of desire as he expresses various steps in his meeting Krishna. This is all anticipation. He's not there in Vṛndāvana yet. So first he's thinking, I'll see him. And then my desire intensifies. I'll offer respects to his feet. But my desire continues to intensify. I'll receive is embrace. Now, before the embrace, I'll receive his hand upon my head. That same hand that wipes the fatigue away from the faces of the gopis during the Rasa Lila. So, seeing, then offering respects to the feet, that's what we're going to do. And then feel his hand upon my head. We're still intensifying in desire now. What's next? He glances upon me. And then embrace. He embraces me. Still we're intensifying here. He speaks words of affection. My uncle Akrūra. And that's the ultimate. My uncle Akrūra. But Akrūra adds on a bonus desire. He's finished his main sequence of desires that increase in intensity. The bonus desire is Balaram. Balaram he'll take me by the hands, he'll embrace me, and Balaram will take me to his house. Balaram's house means Nanda Maharaj's house. Balaram has his own house, but yet he considers Nanda Maharaj's house his own. So Balaram will take me there and greet me. That's a bonus. So what happens when Akrūra actually arrives in Vṛndāvana? It's evening, and the light in the sky has dimmed. Why did it take so long for Akrūra to reach Vṛndāvana? He left in the morning from Mathura. He should have gotten to Vṛndāvana by midday, normally. But he was so absorbed in thinking, in anticipation, this sequence as we described, that he wasn't pushing his horses. He wasn't goading them to go faster. So the horses took their time, evidently. Also, the acharyas point out that arriving in the evening is more auspicious than arriving in noon. So the way the whole trip worked out is that Akrūra arrives in the evening. And what's the first thing he sees? Krishna's footprints on the ground. As you know from reading Nectar of Devotion, Krishna's footprints are a stimulant for ecstatic love. So Akrūra sees those footprints. Now you may ask, it's getting to be dusk, the light's low in the sky, and there's so many other footprints on the ground. How is it that Akrūra could pick out Krishna's footprints? But the acharyas explain that the earth always considered Krishna's footprints to be special, and the earth made it so that Krishna's footprints, in addition to the footprints' own effulgence, the earth highlighted them also by the earth's own techniques of spotlighting Krishna's footprints. So Akrūra saw those footprints and jumped off his chariot onto the footprints and began to roll in them, exclaiming, "How wonderful this is! How wonderful this is!" So his ecstatic love in Dasya praying was stimulated, and that led to an outpouring of anubhava. His spiritual emotions manifested in physical symptoms, rolling on the ground, rolling on the dust in those footprints. So he goes further And at the edge of Vṛndāvana, he had already seen the footprints, but he went further, but still not into the center of the village, but near the entrance there were pastures, and that's where he first saw Krishna and Balaram. They had evidently already come back from the forest, herding the cows. They had already taken the bath. They were freshly dressed. It's getting dark, remember? Why is it that Akrūra could see them from far off? He could do that because of their effulgence. And he gets closer in his chariot. And then gets bewildered by praying. You see, he should have immediately got off his chariot when seeing Krishna and Balaram from afar. Because the chariot is, when you're seated on a chariot, you're up high. And that's not respectful to approach Krishna and Balaram when you're seated on high. But Akrūra got just bewildered by seeing them. So he continued onward with the chariot. Then he got closer and realized, I should be getting down. So he got down, and after flung himself on the ground at their feet. He couldn't see them clearly, though. His eyes were filled with tears. He couldn't say anything. His voice was all choked up. Now, actually, because Akrūra is Krishna's uncle, that means he's Krishna's elder. According to etiquette, Krishna shouldn't have embraced Akrūra. But Krishna was affected by Akrūra's dasya praying, his pure love and servitorship. So Krishna was reciprocating. You're so affectionate to me, I'm affectionate to you. These are the ways of ecstatic love. In other words, what you're seeing is the increased ecstasy shown by Akrūra in Dasiras. He's showing you peak potential as he is at the ground at Krishna's feet. And then Krishna gets him off the ground, and with Krishna's arms, especially the palm with the symbol of the chakra on the arm, Krishna is indicated by that, using his arm to lift up Akrūra. See this chakra? Kamsa's finished. I've got the strength to take care of Kamsa. So, let's hear a description of what Akrūra sees in the village of Braj. This is from Shrimad-Bhagavatam. Akrūra then saw Krishna and Balaram in the village of Braj going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balaram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. One of those two mighty-armed youths, the shelters of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, and the other's was white. With their fine featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As they walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, those two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goad, and lotus. The two lords, whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive, were ornamented with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands. anointed with auspicious, fragrant substances, freshly bathed, and dressed in spotless raiment. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in their distinct forms of Keshava and Balarama. O King Pritchett, they resembled two gold-bedecked mountains, one of emerald and the other of silver, as with their effulgence they dispelled the sky's darkness in all directions. So at this point, Balaram takes over because he's the elder. That means he's taking more responsibility for greeting the guest. So Balaram takes Akrūra inside Nanda's house and shows him all hospitality. Akrūra is being personally treated by the Supreme Personality Godhead Balaram. And then Nanda Maharaj comes. And Nanda Maharaj very eloquently but frankly says to Akrūra, so you're coming from Mathura. There's no point in my asking about the welfare of anyone in Mathura because of that king who's like a slaughterer. There's no good for anyone as long as he's in charge. Akrūra dines, and then Krishna and Balaram talk to him, and Akrūra explains his mission. I've come to take you to Mathura. It's Kamsa's plan. Akrūra describes a little bit about how Kamsa's persecuting the yadus. As you know, Krishna and Balaram just mildly laughed. Such an insignificant threat. But what we want to go to now is the devastation that hit Vṛndāvana, especially hitting the cowherd girls of Vṛndāvana. You see, Krishna's attitude was, as soon as he heard about Kamsa's proposal from Akrūra, okay, let's go. And Nanda Maharaj said, yeah, we'll leave tomorrow morning. Astonishing as that is. But the devastation that spread throughout Vṛndāvana is almost beyond words to describe. So we'll switch to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, after his hearing from Advaita Acharya, the mysterious sonnet, that in the marketplace there's no more demand for rice, everyone has become mad, drowning in ecstasy. And the one who's sending this message to Mahaprabhu is also mad with ecstasy. That message signified that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was nearing completion. And so Mahaprabhu's ecstasies of love and separation became even more intense. So once, in the association of Sri Damodar and Ramana Roy, the Radhika Bhava, the emotional intensities of Srimati Radharani upon Krishna's departure from Braj to Mathura, that bhava suddenly arose in Mahaprabhu. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes presents the emotions and the position of Srimati Radharani. Sometimes he appears as Srimati Radharani herself. Sometimes he presents himself as a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. So now he's enacting. He's truly participating, experiencing what the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani, felt upon Krishna's departure from Braj to Mathura. The famous verses Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's reciting and paraphrasing from Bhagavatam is he's taken shelter of Ramananda Roy and Sri Damodar, just like Srimati Radharani takes shelter of Vishaka, reveals her mind. Providence, you are so cruel. How can you do what you're doing? You bring together persons in love and affection, and before their desires are fulfilled, you rip them apart. You are so childish. You don't know how to do things properly. Furthermore, Providence, you show us Krishna's face, and we can drink the nectar of the beauty of his face. But before we've drunk sufficiently, you take that face away. How can you do this to us? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on speaking in the role of Srimati Radharani in her bhava. Actually, how can we blame Providence? Because Providence could say, it's not me who's taking Krishna away, it's Akrūra. So Srimati Radharani says, all right, it's Providence in the form of Akrūra. So we won't blame Providence. Actually, what about Krishna? Providence is not doing this torture to us. We have no intimate connection with Providence. But that Krishna, the focus is now on Krishna. He is producing this devastation. Even though we've given everything to him, he's killing our life. But then, why should we blame Krishna? What's happening must be just the result of my own misfortune. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absorbed in this state of Krishna's departure for Mathura, the state as particularly felt by the gopis, and particularly Krishna's most precious gopi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience this love and separation. Especially, you can see that when Krishna sends Uddhava to visit Vṛndāvana. What Uddhava found in Vṛndāvana is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience. So it all starts. For Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it all starts. The peak experience starts with Krishna's departure from Vṛndāvana to Mathura. And Uddhava is coming to see what's going on, to see for himself the feelings of separation and make a report to Krishna. What Uddhava found, starting with what was felt by the gopis upon Krishna's departure, that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all about at his deepest core purpose. Thank you very much.